So, welcome to another video, the One Good Road here. Today I am in the forest, which is really gorgeous. And I'm taking an afternoon stroll and I'm wanting to do another podcast. Today I want to talk to you about veganism and why I think you should try it. Hey buddy. Hey. Aww. He or she?
She.
Gorgeous. This is really stunning here. And it's just not far from where we live actually. It's, for a point of reference, not far from the Pyrenees in France. And today I'm going to be testing out this new setup I have, like walking and talking instead. So before I've done some podcasts where I'm stationary, and this is just going to be a bit different. I'm just trying it. I don't know if I'll continue. So today's topic, veganism. So I want to talk to you about some of the reasons I'm vegan, and I have been for about 8 months now, or a bit more than that actually, maybe close to a year, but it's probably about 10 months, something like that. And for me, the diet is really important for me. It makes me think about sustainability. It's not really truly for its health benefits, because I think that you can be healthy on many different diets. It's mainly just cutting out sugar and junk food, and then you're pretty much okay, really. And having a healthy, balanced diet is just about having balance. You don't want to have too much of anything, really. That's what it comes down to health-wise. So I'm not going to talk about health benefits. For me, it's about the sustainability of being vegan and for the earth, okay, for eco-friendly purposes. So, for example, when you're growing a piece of meat, well, a cow, let's say, an animal, that cow requires a lot of food. That also requires space, requires water. Then the cow requires space. So space-wise, it makes a lot more sense and more efficient to just allow the food to grow, but not have to kill and slaughter and grow a cow for however long it is. It's just on a mass production scale in the future, I think we're going to see less and less big farms producing meat. They might even figure out a way to make synthetic lab-grown meat, which I think they've already worked on. So there's that to consider. And I think, actually that's a question. Would you eat meat if it was lab grown? For me, probably not, but I would try it. So with like being vegan, I'm not like hardcore mode, always never eating a trace of dairy, you know, or honey. For me, I'm still flexible in those moments where I need to be, or if it's an event or a party or anything like that, and the food's fairly limited. I might even skip a meal sometimes if I can do it. But sometimes for me, it's just about being flexible. I don't want to make it difficult for friends too much of the time. And for example, if you buy a biscuit, okay? Most biscuits are not vegan. They've either got traces of milk in them, they've got bits of egg in them, and it's unbelievable because there's just so much junk food that has that sort of food in it, and it's sort of, if you're following it very strictly, you don't eat it as much, you know? So, I mean, you eat less junk food, but to be honest, if you still can eat like tons of soda, you can drink loads of soda and still get loads of sugar from that. So it's still not perfect, to be honest. But I think that as long as you try to be as close as you can to it, I think that's fine. And I think that sometimes I buy stuff and it randomly has traces of milk in it or something, and I'm like, what the? And also dairy, for example, uses the space thing, like I was saying. It needs a lot of space, and I've been and worked on some farms in close proximity and seen how the cows are treated and such, and I feel like the whole method behind it is abuse. I feel like it's not necessary in our view on animals. You could argue, do plants feel pain? Well, I don't think they feel the same pain, to be honest. They have no way of expressing it, and an animal's much more biologically closer to us than a tree, for example. But they have done some tests on like how plants pick up on feelings when it's to do with music or something, and they still pick up frequency like that. But I don't think it's definitely not to the same level, or it's not the same way that we experience pain and suffering. I think that's the main thing when you're consuming something else, is the pain that it goes through, I suppose. That's the main thing, isn't it? I don't know. And I don't want to be a part of that if I can. I'd rather be as efficient as a human as I can be, have as little impact as I can be on certain levels. I want to have other impacts on other things, like, I don't know, YouTube, for example. Please subscribe, because that's how people like us make a living. Watching ads and helps the channel. So anyway, back to the video's topic, veganism. And I think that, yeah, for me it's about the pain level and sustainability. What else is there really? That's about it for me. I don't do it for the health benefit, like I said. And I think you should just try it yourself and see if it works for you. If you are wanting to try being vegan and you haven't given it a go yet, I would highly encourage it, being even vegetarian. I was vegetarian for about, I think 10 years maybe, or close to it, at least 9 years or so. And I think it's something everyone should try. And then veganism was due to a friend I met in California, and he's been vegan for a bit longer, like many years. And I was intrigued in it, and I thought, okay, I can actually adjust my diet a little bit more, and I can cut out the dairy. That was the main thing. I was so hanging on to dairy, you know. But now there's so many alternatives. You can have tempeh, you can have all sorts of different milks, you can have different fake meat, which is not really fake meat, but it's basically just soy based. And for me, soy food is fine. I don't think there's such a myth that soy is bad for you. I'm fine. I've ate tons of soy in the last few months, for the last probably, yeah, like I said, 10 months actually. But for the last 10 months, I've been eating, you know, a lot of soy product, a lot of beans, you know, and people say, do you get enough protein? There's athletes who are doing vegan diets and they're fine, and weightlifters who do it and they're fine, they're doing great even. I think you get a more leaner body, you don't gain so much weight, but you can still eat a lot of junk food. For me, weight hasn't changed very much, I would say, actually. Between vegetarianism, I guess, or being vegetarian and being vegan, there's very little difference, apart from when it comes to weight. And I think nutrition's pretty similar as well. And I think cutting out dairy is actually maybe better for digestion for me. I can't really process a lot of dairy anymore, and it's starting to get more and more, and I couldn't eat meat. It would literally upsets my stomach if I eat anything like that anymore. And God, there's actually lots to talk about. You could go endlessly with how much there is, you know, with veganism. The main thing for me is that, as you've seen on my channel, I do a lot of outdoor stuff. I do bike packing, I do backpacking as well. And I think that when it comes to backpacking, specifically, I've been doing that and eating diet which is mostly vegan, or is vegan. And for me, it works really well once you dial it down, once you figure out what works for you. I eat a lot of vegetables. I eat a lot of beans and any sort of type, whether it's lentils or haricot or whatever for protein. I will eat soy milk sometimes, or drink soy milk sometimes, but not on the trail so much. It's too heavy to carry with me. I eat a lot of cornflakes, a massive amount of cornflakes. I now just eat them just as a snack. I eat them like, instead of crisps, I'll eat cornflakes, you know? And it works so well for me. I don't know why, but my body can digest it and I love it. It's such a good, I know it's heavily processed stuff, but it's healthier. To me, a cornflake is much healthier than bread. I don't even eat that much bread recently. I've been having trouble digesting that sort of thing. So for me, eating mostly just vegetables has worked really well long term. And drinking a lot of water. And if you're having trouble, have a ton of prunes. You know, it's amazing what prunes can do. It's kind of a joke, because my friend and I, we would take bags of prunes with us when we were traveling, because you know, you might have long stretches with not a lot of water and things like that. So don't underestimate the power of prunes. Yeah, I eat a lot of dried fruit. Raisins are really cheap. There's so many different diets out there, but for me it's budget. I only spend $30 or 30 euros a week on food. And that's a mixture between, I would say, 20% organic and 80% non-organic, because that's my budget right now. And that's actually supported by you guys. I really appreciate anyone who watches this and listens, because that's what sustains my living costs, is people listening. This track, by the way, will be available for download if you want to just listen to it instead. I can understand that. I've been listening to podcasts and I prefer to listen sometimes rather than watch the videos, just because it's going on YouTube. But it's not necessary to have video for me. In some ways it can be a distraction. So it's nice to have audio, and that's an option. I'll leave a downloadable link for now, and we'll see what we do with it in the future, but that's what it is right now. And just appreciating how stunning it is today. It was really grey this morning, and now there's really lots of sun. So I would say, if you want to try being vegan, try it. You'll only discover yourself, and do it slowly, adjust to it slowly. And everyone always tries vegetarian first. It's much easier. Nowadays you can be vegetarian. It's really easy. In pretty much every country these days. Vegan is much harder. That is trickier, I would say. You can't just go everywhere and expect everyone to be vegan. And most of the time when you go to a restaurant, they give you salads, and that's it sometimes, which is kind of a bummer. But it's slowly changing. It's starting to get better and better, I would say. So it's something to keep an eye on, or keep in mind. Not everyone's vegan still. But I think as our society is going to be adjusting to it over time, and we're going to be slowly, space is going to be quite a high priced thing in the future, I think. Especially you look at places like Asia, like Japan or something like that. There's not a lot of space. It's a high price for it, you know? And most people over there don't eat meat. They still eat fish maybe, but they don't really eat massive livestock, you know, like cow or pig or stuff like that. So it really depends on where you live, obviously. And I think mental and your psychological point of view on how you feel about it. I like how minimal it is to be vegan. It's not complicated at all. It's so simple. Like I said, $30. I buy the canned food that I need, or fresh vegetables if you prefer. And it's simple, it's quick, and then I buy a lot of beans. And you can really mix it up. You don't have to make it boring. We've had lentil burgers before, which are fantastic, really, really nice. And you can make that homemade. You do have to get into making things a bit more homemade, that's true. But just try it. Just try it. There's no harm in trying. do it for a week and see how it goes for you, you know? Yeah. And I think, so we've talked about the sustainability. I'm trying to list it off. We've talked about what it is and why I'm vegan, why you could try it. There's not much else to mention for now, so I think I'm going to leave it at that. And actually we are leaving the forest now, sort of leaving the park area. So yeah, subscribe and definitely stay tuned for new videos, new podcasts, hopefully in this style. I really hope so. And that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed listening.